That awkward moment when you're not sure if you're actually streaming live or not. So you gesticulate and wait until confirmation comes or doesn't come. I don't know. Difficult to say. Hello, Galaxy. Chris Pirillo here. I am in somewhat familiar surroundings, as I was, I think, a week or so ago when we did a Vlogmas. Tonight is going to be somewhat different, not just because of the lack of any kind of holiday cheer around me, I guess. See, normally I'd show you things, but you can get an eyeful behind me. I'm not going to pan that way because I've got to get to cleaning up some stuff over there. I thought for today's Vlogmas, I would talk about some things that I was thankful for, grateful for in 2020, given that 2020 has been on record, one of the cruelest years for many, largely due to the current pandemic. And so sometimes it can be difficult to see past problems to recognize that which you already have, right? And so I thought a nice change of pace would be to tell you what I was thankful for, grateful for in 2020, certainly. And these are in no particular order. It's not like a full on solid list, and this is definitive evidence that these are the only things that I'm thankful for. I just rattled off a few things, or really typed them. I'm about to rattle them off. The first thing is that I'm grateful that Maslow's hierarchy of needs has been covered. We've got shelter, we've got food, we've got some degree of stability, as much as one could have stability. I'm very, very grateful for that because some people don't have that, and I'm not exactly sure where the percentage is. Like if we are in a minority of having Maslow's hierarchies of needs covered, and hopefully we would not be. But still, it's something that we often take for granted if we have food and if we have shelter and if we have the basics, the necessities. And certainly that's something to be grateful for in 2020 if you do have them. Second thing I'm grateful for, and I realize this is definitely going to be on not everybody's list of things they're grateful for, since everything basically shut down, including travel. There was no travel for 2020 by and large, and I'm grateful for that. And I know, some of y'all love to travel. I am not one of those people. I don't want to travel. I don't need to travel. I don't care to travel. I don't look forward to traveling. It's just not something that I want to do. So, and I'm not saying that these horrible things had to happen for me to be grateful for something that didn't happen, but I'm not saying the glass is half full when it's really half empty either. I'm saying that one of the byproducts of this happening is that something that I don't like didn't happen. So I'm not equating the two, but it was something as I was thinking through. I'm like, I'm kind of grateful I didn't travel as much as I did, and I know again the weird thing is that there are a lot of people who would list it on the things that they miss or have missed in 2020. I am definitely not one of them. Absolutely not. Like, it's more often than otherwise, if I'm traveling, and there are rare exceptions to this rule, like, Galaxy's Edge being one rare exception. Traveling for Disney and Star Wars has always been fun. But this is it. This right here. This is all I'm looking for. So not having to travel, I'm very, very grateful for in 2020. The third thing I'm grateful for in 2020 is somewhat of a daily routine, thrifting. And I know that sounds weird, but I enjoy thrifting probably more than any other type of regular daily-ish activity. I don't know, there's just something kind of fun about walking into a store and not knowing what you're going to find. You genuinely don't know, and certainly if you find something, if it's something that you wanted or didn't realize you needed. And I realized also that you could walk into any store and say that, but there's something about thrifting because it's all contingent on what's there. That is the inventory. What's out, that's it. There's no waiting lists or anything like that. If it's not there, it's not there. And every day, it can be different. It's true. And sometimes twice a day, it could be different depending on flow and what they're bringing in and what they're putting out. But it's still something that I missed it. That was probably the thing I missed the most when businesses were shut down toward the beginning of 2020 when the pandemic was really taking hold. That was the thing. We had everything else covered. I'm very grateful for that. But that was the one thing every day that would just satisfy an itch. I don't know how else to explain it. Like if you're not a thrifter, you wouldn't understand. If you're not a collector of certain things, you probably wouldn't understand. Some people thrift because they resell things, and I've done that at times. Maybe not enough to consider it, anything more than a passing possibility. But still, it's just the whole experience that I enjoy, and that's the one thing that was probably the most interruptive in my routine in 2020, specifically the thrifting portion. Don't find things every single day. Don't even find them every single week. But when you do, there's just a thrill that you can't get from too many other things. Oh, there's a notification for one of my favorite Discord servers. I pretty much belong to just about every Star Wars Discord server I can find, but the collecting servers have been great, especially this year. I guess I could be thankful for them. Although I wouldn't say that it's like they didn't make my top list. The next thing I've been grateful for in 2020 is the good array of streaming entertainment. And again, I would say I think a lot of that was in place before the pandemic really took hold. Obviously, production schedules, had changed during this time, but I ended up watching because of the amount of time. I thought if I turned this phone over, it would be silent. What's the notification? Oh, it tells me I'm live right now. Well, that's great. Nobody else got the notification, but I'm glad I did. Thanks, YouTube. That YouTube does not make my list of things. But streaming, not just this type of streaming, like shows to watch, and I would go from one to the next to the next to the next, and there's probably a few more that I want to see, and certainly ones I'm looking forward to. And I think the thing that's great about that is that as I finish one, I start another, and then I might like it, and then get caught up, and then have to wait for the next season to come out, and that won't be till next year. So inevitably, I could have like some degree of like not exactly year-round entertainment, but something like that. And I tend to be one who wants to binge. There's a few on my list that I've yet to see. I don't have like a top 10 shows that I watched in 2020, but it was a wide array of different types of shows, certainly. From across the streaming platforms. So I'm grateful that we have streaming platforms because it's the type of entertainment that I probably look forward to most, and when they're good shows. And I usually don't find out about a show unless I look into it, or if someone or people in my particular social feed talk about it all the time. Then I'm interested. I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. I gotta check it out. So it's usually that's where like what I decide to watch, where it falls. The next thing I'm grateful for in 2020 is, and I mentioned this the other day, hitting my target weight. I'm very grateful for that. That's something that I've wrestled with, and I've documented it off and on in the past in video. But like right around my birthday this year, I realized again I was approaching a high point for weight. I'm like, nah, I'm tired of it, and so I've worked very diligently every day to be mindful of what it was that I was eating on a daily basis, and not letting it get out of hand, and not saying, "Oh, I hit my target weight, I'm good." But I feel good about having hit the target weight and then being able to maintain it. And the maintenance is probably the hardest part. Losing it is not as challenging, or hasn't been for me, but specifically maintaining it. So as many people are doing their New Year's resolutions, specifically in relation to weight loss, I'm grateful that I'm already ahead of the game, and I'm hoping to be able to maintain it. So if I had a resolution, it would probably be to maintain the weight that I feel most comfortable at. And, not having a high degree of body fat, yay. Didn't need to exercise one mile, really. If anything, I guess I power walk when I walk. But it's just all about, for me, or it's been about caloric intake and being vegan, of course. That helped my calcium score, certainly. But I enjoy a beer at the end of the day. Save enough calories for a beer. So that was another thing I was thankful for. And, well, I guess I can be thankful for the beer. That's not what I was referencing. The next thing I had written down or typed in, we had some time to do some reorganization. Again, the pandemic hit, no denying it. It hit everybody. It impacted us differently. And I don't think we were necessarily bored. I mean, there are certainly other things we could have done with our time, but it was kind of long overdue. We've never really gone through a full a reorg and relooking at things after Jedi was born. And we went through the house almost top to bottom and still aren't done. There's a few things that I've yet to do. Like, this room is largely set, but then I start getting new action figures that I've yet to unbox. And they're sitting there. There's just a stack of them. Like, okay, I want to, but I want to enjoy, opening them and posing them and looking at them. And it just hasn't happened with the din of the day. So being able to reorganize things was great because it streamlined. We were able to go through things, donate a few things that were no longer used or no longer really fit. Shelves kind of got cleaned off, minus this room. This room, I added shelves. Some rooms we added shelves, and those, like I said, parts of them, some of them are getting to the point where they will be reorganized. I've threatened to do some kind of room tour on New Year's here, the Play Shop tour, quote unquote home office, but I haven't decided whether I'm going to do that or not. Still, being able to reorganize, I don't know if we would have found the time otherwise. So the pandemic kind of forced us, and I don't mean pandemic in terms of health, in terms of what it did to society, right? It's everything ground to a halt. And so it just gave us extra time to do the thing that needed to be done, and so I'm grateful we could do that thing. The next thing I'm grateful for is that Pixie was with us for one more year, and that was something I worried wasn't going to happen. I worried that she was going to follow right after Wicket, and she hasn't. I would say she's in good health, all things considered, even after losing her eye, having a horrible bout of like gastrointestinal issues not long before that. She's in a different kind of routine now than she was a year ago. But, I mean, given her age, I mean, she seems as happy could be. She wags her tail still. I mean, she's, aware of her surroundings. She kind of knows what's going on. She still looks forward to eating every day, wishes she had more food. I mean, every bit of dog. So I'm grateful she's still with us. The last thing that I have on the list here, and, I hesitate to say saving the best for last, because that isn't the case, right? I started with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the basics, and we've got them covered. The last thing that I have listed, and this should not be a shock to anybody, Star Wars is set to explode. Like I've long wanted something like what has happened or what is taken place with The Mandalorian. That is a live action television episodic content in the Star Wars galaxy. It worked very well as I could have hoped. I don't know if I could have wanted it to happen any earlier. Suffice it to say, hearing about 10 or 11 new shows in production or movies in production combined is thrilling. Like it's great. I would rather hear about 10 new different types of shows or movies in production, like all that kind of visual entertainment combined. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like traditional movie, traditional film, traditional television, that type of media. Than hearing about, one new Star Wars blockbuster movie. Like, because I just think the era has moved on, from just film and film being Star Wars and movies being Star Wars. So I'm glad they are doubling down on it. And it was amazing. It was great to hear the other day. I mean, I could have, I would have been happy with 5. So like hearing about 10 and then 11 was just it's great. As a Star Wars fan, almost lifelong Star Wars fan, I would say that's about as good a news I could receive in 2020 as anything. To know that Star Wars isn't dead. I know some people want it to be that way, and I don't. I tend not to listen to those people. It's many things to many people. Yeah, I'll get to collect certainly. I don't think that's going to stop. I'll have to get more shelves. That'll be the big. I'll save that problem for 2021, which is right around the corner. So there are many things that I can be grateful for in looking back on 2020, which for many people was an absolutely hellish year. It's not done, and certainly there have been many horrible things that have happened in 2021, but that or 2020. Uh, don't want to doom 2021 before it even begins. But yeah, I thought that for a Vlogmas, just me doing this live stream blog of sorts would be a nice change up because we've got a couple more days and the full on Christmas day to go through. But I wanted to at least document what I was thankful for, because why bother spending time on things that you're ungrateful for? It doesn't make any sense to me. I love you. I appreciate you. And at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. And may the force be with you always.